All right, joining me now is retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg. He is the Center for American Security co-chairman and the former national security advisor to former Vice President Mike Pence. So, General, just I got to say, watching that report, I'm kind of shocked that America seems to be behind the eight ball in regard to hypersonic weaponry, and they could be used by Russia in Ukraine. And also the fact that Russia's fighting a new war here in the sense that they're going to use cyber tactics to shut down energy in Ukraine. What say you?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me. Look, two things real quick. The first is on cyber. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to hit Ukrainian command and control, especially with cyber attacks. They did that in Georgia in 2008. They did it in Ukraine in 2014. And what it's designed to do is to blind you, to make sure that you cannot react rapidly and give command and control to your troops. I can see that happening. That is standard. When it comes to hypersonics, what people need to understand out there, this is a relatively new system. The Russians have got an active regiment with an avant-garde system. Now, for people to make sure they understand what hypersonic means, that means a missile travels at a minimum of 2.5 times the speed of sound. That means a missile will travel, Sean, at 2 miles a second.
Wow.
And there's no defense for it. Now, we've actually put some money into the program. The Trump administration did early. The program was started and then was stopped by the Obama administration. We put the money back into it, and it's been a while for the R&D to develop. And I blame a little bit of that on our military, where they took their eye off the ball. They focused so much on the Middle East, they forgot about advanced weapon systems. The Chinese have hypersonics, the Russians have hypersonics. What it means with the Chinese is that means we can't get our carrier battle groups close to the shoreline because the hypersonics will reach out and touch you at 1,600 miles at a speed of Mach 5 or higher. And then when you look what's happening with the Russians, they can use it. I don't think they'll use hypersonics when they go against Ukraine because it's really designed to be used against strategic level targets. You can make book, they'll use cyber, and their forces are arrayed to do what they want to do right now. In closing, I think it's important to know that President Macron of France was in Moscow today talking to Putin. I'm hoping he got something done because I think this may be the last diplomatic outreach that we have before hostilities, and hopefully Macron can pull something off. Otherwise, we're going to be in for a long 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, in general, if you're sitting in one of the Eastern Bloc countries, part of the old Soviet Union, and you look at this massive potential land grab if Russia invades, you probably don't feel very safe, do you?
Right. No, you don't, because well, you would feel safe if you're part of NATO. Sean, he's not going to go against NATO. I mean, when you think about what NATO has got, it'd be 2 countries, because you got to count Belarus, 2 countries, right, Belarus and Russia, against 30. And then you look at the defense establishments, you're talking about 3 nuclear powers versus 1, because you've got the French and the British and ourselves against Russia. But he has got a real ability to really influence his neighbors. And if he invades Ukraine, now, let's say he takes it down, then everybody's going to sit back and say, well, we could be next, maybe we're next, what's going to happen? And it'll change their behavior. And I think that's one of the big concerns everybody has to have is, what will Europe look like if he goes into Ukraine? How will they react? And I will tell you what bothers me is America's not leading. And they're going to say, you know, America's not on the front on this. They're not leading. We're going to worry more about ourselves than we are about the NATO alliance in the United States.
In general, that leads to my next question. So I've heard you talk about we don't want to take our eye off the ball in China, which I agree with you 100%, right? But if we don't really engage with Ukraine and we let that fall to Russia, does that send also the wrong message to China that we won't defend or won't send armaments or assistance to Taiwan? I mean, how do you balance this right now and get the right strong message to China, but also don't commit U.S. troops, young men and women from our country, to Ukraine? What's the right balance?
You know, Sean, that's a great question because you're absolutely right. It is a question of balance. And we worked that real hard in the Trump administration. And what should have been done and what we were trying to do, but we got so involved with Russiagate and everything else, is you talk Putin off the ledge. And Trump was good about that. At the same time you're doing that, you make Ukraine an unsinkable aircraft carrier. You give them so much armament that nobody's going to come after them. And that was our big mistake. The big mistake of America is we didn't do that. But this is a European issue, and the Europeans should have been doing that for the last 7 or 8 years. Ever since he invaded Ukraine, the European nations should have been upgunning Ukraine. They didn't do a thing. What did Germany just do when Russia started pushing? They sent them, they sent them 5,000 helmets. That doesn't go very far.
Yeah. Well, General, when Germany is relying on Russia for so much of their energy, they've almost tied their hands, which is incredibly disappointing. This is a European issue, you're right, and they should be taking the lead instead of always looking to the U.S. To take the lead and spend all the money on the armaments. Listen, General, thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your insights. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me.
All right.